And we're right here at Dell EMC World with Jeff Baher. He's Senior Director of Service Provider Solutions at Dell EMC. And Jeff, welcome to the segment.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I want to talk about this digital transformation and how Dell EMC is really moving from maybe a hyper focus on the telecom space, maybe more towards cloud service provider, managed service provider, and that space in general. Can you talk about that transition?
Yeah, sure. So there's a significant shift when we look at our customers, small, medium business, and enterprise, the way in which they consume their IT services. And when we look into the future, increasingly they're looking to move many of those functions and capabilities out into the service provider community. So they'll be looking to traditional telecom operators, but increasingly managed service providers, cloud service providers, to deliver their new mechanisms and functions for how they want to consume enterprise IT services.
Jeff, along the same lines, can we talk about compute really maybe starting from the core and now really moving towards the edge and how that's changing the landscape for Dell EMC regarding service providers?
Yeah, sure. So I would really say there's kind of two big moves that are happening within the service provider community. And I kind of refer to two ends of the cord. On one end, we have service providers who are making significant investments in the compute, servers, storage, networking to build out cloud architectures. And that's kind of what, large hyperscale configurations, some of what you might see behind me, that's kind of on one end, deep into these networks. But from that, we have this idea of tentacles kind of going out, either into the access networks or all the way out to the customer edge. So this is the other end of the cord. It's another expression of compute, obviously a lot smaller, introduces a lot of new form factors, but it's the combination of those two, having a significant amount of compute in the core, in the back where the cloud really is, and then having another on-ramp closer to the customer or in these access networks opens up a significant amount of use cases and capabilities for new service providers and also for the enterprise customers and other types of businesses that are trying to gain access to that infrastructure.
Can you talk specifically maybe about, we've covered a few IoT solution showcases right here on the floor. Can you talk about how that does tie back really to the infrastructure, to the hardware?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in fact, one of the biggest use cases we see when the service providers are how they can address industry verticals using capabilities like IoT. And at the heart of that is putting compute capacity and capabilities at the edge of the network so you can onboard different types of technologies, different types of services, but that's critical to unlocking a whole new set of use cases, business cases for the service providers. And I think you might have seen earlier in agriculture or in medicine, there's all sorts of new use cases that are now emerging because we have that compute real estate both in the cloud, but also in these edge and these IoT access networks.
Jeff, you've been in this business long enough. Can you tell us, and to rewind the clock quite some time ago, where you really made this transition from the enterprise space more to the service provider space, really just selling servers?
Yeah. Well, and this is a significant shift. And one of the theme for Dell EMC World is digital transformation, and we refer to this as really the beginning of the next industrial revolution. In this last 10, 20, 30 years, enterprises, their mode of operation was buying server storage and bringing that in and building up their own infrastructure. And what we've seen with each passing year, greater capability, greater capacity in the service provider community is allowing enterprises to change their investment profiles and look more towards cloud capabilities and more as a service consumption models versus building it on your own. And now, I wasn't around for the first industrial revolution, but way back when, if you wanted to stand up a business in the late 1800s, you had to generate your own power. And it's a similar analogy that if you were in a business in the 80s or 90s, you had to make your own investments in IT just to get that going. Today, small, medium business, even the largest of large enterprises can turn to the service providers and consume much of that which they otherwise would have had to build on their own. So it's a significant shift and a significant opportunity for the service providers and for our customer base.
Jeff, I want to wrap up by asking you, clearly there's a learning curve, education curve right now for service providers out there, operators. Where do you see that learning curve sort of panning out over the next, let's say, 3 years?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think first of all, it probably will take more than 3 years, and these are long kind of 10, 20-year cycles. But a lot of what the service providers are investing in is the technologies that the enterprises have really grown up around. So there is a shift in terms of what they need to consume and an adjustment around their vocabulary, but they are inherently going to be investing in server, storage, networking technologies that the enterprises have been consuming and know very well, but that ultimately is the kind of learnings that they will get from people like Dell, other large companies that have gone through this on their own, and now they're using that as the basis for their own business models. So it's an exciting time. They're forging new ground, they're making investments in new technologies, but it really is kind of opening up all sorts of opportunities across the board.
Jeff, thanks for your time.
My pleasure, thank you.